This might seem a little strange coming from a nearly 30-year-old man, but bear with me. But I love the idea of adventure. There's something about setting off on a journey, leaving everything that might be annoying behind and just living your life in complete, unrestricted fun. That just seems so cool to me. Now, maybe that feeling comes from all the different types of cartoons and games that I played as a kid. I was always setting off on yet another adventure when I was younger. Being a Zelda fan kind of does that to you when you're that young, but it wasn't until I played the East series that I started to truly understand how even restricted those games were back then when I was a kid. East offers something that I genuinely believe no other game series allows me to feel, the complete sense of adventure like this series does. There's genuinely nothing else like it. And in the case for today, that is Ys 10 Nordics, the newest entry in the franchise. And don't worry, since the game isn't out yet, I'll avoid talking spoilers for the story and stuff like that. I'll only show what's in the demo maybe. There we go. Little over a month ago, NIS America was kind enough to provide me with the game for Ys 10, and they even gave me a care package for the limited edition version, which I'll unbox on this video later on. But man, they were so kind to me, man. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I was super looking forward to this game, so thank you again. Now, I've been aware of Ys 10 Nordics since the game's Japanese release about a year or so ago. And the thing about Ys 10 is I honestly thought it was going to be a long time before it was localized. Knowing NIS America, they have, as the years been going by, doing really good about showing us that they're trying to really get us these things in a more timely manner now, to where us in the West don't have to wait too long after the Japanese release so we can get it too, which is honestly really awesome. Thank you. Ys 10 in particular is actually a standout of the franchise because you can tell this is where they want to start going in a slightly different direction than what they've been doing for the last couple of games. Now, this is something I didn't realize about the game at the time because I was trying not to look too much at the Japanese version and all the stuff it was showing off. I just wanted to wait and play the game myself. But it turns out, as the marketing and stuff for the game started to get more frequent, that this is actually a pirate game. Yeah. We actually have a pirate-style RPG for Ys. Not only is that something I didn't see coming in the slightest because we quite honestly don't get too many pirate-focused JRPGs. I just don't know too many that did that. And I'm talking the nitty-gritty of it too. Having pirate ship battles, being able to board enemy vessels and take them down, it's super cool. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. Let's start from the top. Ys 10 is one of those games that, as strange as it sounds, it's highly reminiscent of the last golden age of RPGs we had when it comes to art direction. Of course, it looks better than those games, but the art direction itself reminds me of a time where developers wanted to make games that'll be beautiful forever. Kind of like how a lot of SNES games age better visually than PS1 games did, just because of the technical direction at the time. Not every game was like this, of course. Games like Mega Man Legends for PS1 still looks great today, but Ys 10 takes a bold step in that same direction that the game is just fun to look at. Well, I say all this, and I still think the game doesn't look as good as the more recent Trails Through Daybreak, which of course is technically a 2021 game. I still think that game looks better, but there's something about the animations of Ys 10 to where I'm gonna say flat out, this is the best animated game Falcom has put out to date, at least in the West. I haven't seen anything better than that. It's genuinely never tiring to see Adol and Karja team up for a super cool move in combat. It just doesn't get old, and that even beats out everything Trails Through Daybreak did. I genuinely think it's just that good. Before I brought up how Ys 10 actually starts to take this series in a slightly new direction, based off the last few games we've gotten in the franchise at least, we've gotten kind of used to having multiple different playable characters, all with different styles of play and swapping between them as the battle shifts and asks different things of us. But in Nordics, we only actually have two playable characters the whole way through, and that is Adol, our protagonist, and the newest character, Karja. What makes this entry unique is actually that it builds off a new battle system called the cross-action system. Basically how it works is that you can normally control either Adol or Karja independently, but when holding the R2 button, you'll be able to switch to a duo mode, where your regular attacks will be a combo with both characters acting together, which is really required in this game. I would go as far to say that the whole game is designed around you using this in most encounters. Mostly because a lot of different enemies might have different kinds of defense and even shields that'll be a lot easier to break through when using duo mode rather than acting independently. Though the game is designed around this, there's still plenty of reasons to act independently of one another. because Adol and Karja both have their own unique skills that honestly just really help out in the general moment-to-moment combat. Just like in previous games, holding R1 and then the associated skills button, which for me would be the face buttons of the PlayStation controller, you can use any of your set skills. This is great because when beating up on enemies, for example, you can use a skill that launches enemies into the air, then switch into the other character, execute an air combo, then switch back to the previous character and pull off the final blow. This is pretty encouraged to do because half of the SP used to execute the move is restored if you kill the enemy with it. So that in itself just really pushes you to keep doing it. I think another one of the bigger differences between, say, this game and Ys 8 and 9 is that they kind of shift the focus of battle in these games. In this game in particular, they actually want you to defend against attacks more than outright just straight up avoid them. Like, we still have a dodge, for example, but there's no benefit to dodging an attack like it would be in, say, Ys 8 or 9. There's no perfect dodge that you can immediately act upon. In this, when you perfect guard, you can then counterattack. That is, again, it's essentially playing the same role, but it does take some getting used to if you've been playing the previous games before this. The reason this is pushed as much as it is because they also added a revenge gauge mechanic. So essentially, as long as you're blocking and you're being hit while blocked, it'll start to fill up the revenge meter. This can also be immediately filled up if you were to perfect guard. But when the revenge meter is fully filled up, when you go ahead and use a duo skill with Karja, the amount of damage it does, it's a multiplier, which can of course be increased as you do the game and get the stat upgrades for it. But yeah, the revenge multiplier adds to the next duo skill you do. So you're constantly wanting to be blocking attacks during combat and then filling up that revenge gauge, proccing the multiplier, getting as much damage as you can get. It's just really nice. It feels like a dance in combat, constantly doing damage to the enemy. They go and try to attack you, you guard, all that good stuff. It's super cool. Again, the best way to describe it is like a dance. I really enjoy that about this game. What's great too is that because combat feels so stylish and flashy with the animations, the music pairs perfectly with it, man. Can we talk about the music for a second? The music, again, I've said it before in previous videos and stuff, but Sound Team JDK is honestly my favorite people in the business right now when it comes to video game music. I don't think I've ever heard a song from them that I thought was mid or just flat out didn't like. I genuinely have loved every song I've heard. It's literally that good. Maybe I'm just easy to impress, but genuinely, wow, they are really, really freaking good. And again, this game does a really good job with that music to where you feel really hyped to fight a boss right out of a cutscene, or you come across some wild mini boss out on the field, or you just flat out just want to have that sense of adventure. I'm exploring the field, using the field skills and stuff like that, and I just have this adventurous theme going on to where I just want to explore everything, beat all the enemies nearby, and just feel so alive. That's what the music does in this game. It makes me feel alive. But yeah, this is basically the bread and butter of the game. You'll constantly be dishing out basic attacks, guarding against enemies alongside Karja in duo mode, building up the revenge gauge, then going ahead, popping your dual skills to proc the revenge multiplier, and yada yada yada. That's essentially what this game is in a way. You could say it's a lot simpler than previous games, and you'd technically be right. But here I feel it's a lot more involved than before. Mostly because you're constantly being made to push the attack instead of swapping in order to satiate some weakness mechanic that Ys 8 and 9 did. Okay, the way I said that, it makes it seem like I was disliking what came before, and that's not it at all. I absolutely loved going from Donna to Sahad and Hummel and swapping back and forth depending on what the enemy's weakness was. It's just here in this game, when you don't really have to think about that now, especially since the last couple games relied on this, it really kind of feels simpler yet just as fun because I'm always pushing the advance and trying to break the enemies more and more efficient. I will say though, despite how much I adore it here because of how exhilarating it is, I do worry for repeat playthroughs feeling kind of samey, which isn't a worry I had in Ys 8 for example, because having enough characters to rotate who was in my party constantly kept me engaged, which doesn't really wear off on repeat playthroughs. But I will say, at least in regard to Nordics, the game isn't long enough to where I would get sick of the field combat. Although I do like how they've added more to the field exploration like they did with Ys 9 by adding different mana abilities. Having a hoverboard to glide over water or sail atop mana streams never gets old. They even have a grapple hook mechanic to swing from place to place, which instantly makes the game a 10 out of 10. I will not hear differently. These things make fully exploring areas more fun to do because getting from place to place is always allowing me to do different kinds of stylish things. But speaking of different things, like I teased before, this game has more to offer than just fun on the field. So as a grade A One Piece fan, especially later in my life, I've started to become a more fan of pirate media despite never seeing Pirates of the Caribbean. Normally when it comes to games like this for pirates, Assassin's Creed Black Flag is usually what's heralded as the king of pirate games. Of course, the only thing coming close is probably like Sea of Thieves. So I'm just gonna rip off the band-aid here. This game's ship combat is not either of those games. I'm gonna say it right now, it's not. But it's not because it just doesn't succeed in doing that. It doesn't really attempt to be better versions of those. It really only tries to go as far what really aids in this game. They don't try to make the ship combat overtake what the game is really trying to go for. It's simple yet fun. You know, it feels like an arcadey version of Assassin's Creed 4. So it's reeled back a lot. Even things like the combat in the sense of it, where as long as you're within range of the enemy ships, you can just hit them. There's no need to like aim or anything like that. As long as you're within range of them, you will hit them with the basic attack. Sometimes it can get a little bit, not janky, but it gets a little bit harder when enemies are speeding past you and stuff and you're trying to race alongside them to hit them. Sometimes it won't reach, but as long as you really maneuver the ship in good ways and try to cut them off and stuff, you'll start to hit them. And you'll really want to hit them with consecutive attacks because you're bringing down a meter, which slows down the ship, which you can then punish them with the special attacks of the ship, which will just blow everybody to sky high. And I freaking love that about this game. Well, what's even cooler too is that when you run into the mini bosses, when you're out on the ship combat, this is where they bring back the raid mechanic from Ys 8 and 9. I know some people might be groaning. I was too at first. However, they finally did it to where I feel I actually like it. Ys 8 and 9, I still don't care for how they did it, especially Ys 8. I just really didn't like how I can be on the other side of the freaking island and I have to get this alert telling me I gotta go all the way back just because the stupid bird's telling me they're attacking my base. And I gotta go all the way back and teleport to where I was and stuff like that. Just kind of annoying. Here, the raids happen when you board the enemy vessels. You have to go through a few waves of the enemies to beat them and then you'll get the treasure. Very short, very simple, and it's always happening when I'm already out there on my boat. I don't have to go to some random island like, oh, hey, our city is being attacked. You have to sail all the way back here, to go do this. They don't do that to you. And thank you. I really appreciate that. No backtracking. I appreciate this a lot. However, the biggest thing I'd probably dislike about the ship, anything in this game, is how freaking slow it is for most of the game. I don't know what they were thinking with this, I'm gonna be honest. It's not so slow to where I'm just like, oh, I hate doing this. And you can upgrade the ship, and by the end, you will be going quite fast. But for a lot of the game, I feel like it was too slow. I do think they should have made the base speed at least 30% faster, maybe even 40%. Mostly because, again, it does feel that slow. You can kind of trick yourself by changing the POV to be a lot closer in on Adol driving the ship and stuff to make you feel like you're going a little bit faster. And the game does have these ley lines on the water to where as long as you're going within the slipstream, you'll go a lot faster. But the game does a really good job of making me want to explore more because you can just go to any random island you want and just land on this island, go beat up the enemies that you see there, explore the area, find treasure and stuff. And you can just do that in this game. You explore and you will find islands you can just do this on, and it's great. But again, you kind of have to go off the beaten path to always, find some of these islands. So again, that's why the speed started getting to me after a little while, because I like to go off the beaten path to find maybe some treasure that got lost in the ocean, or just go to one of these islands, which aren't always on the ley line, lined path on the water. So not the greatest thing, but I did always enjoy it. It was never enough to where I groaned at getting back on the ship. I'll say that right now. Getting on the ship was always fun. So I don't think anybody has to worry about that. But yeah, this is a game that absolutely should not be slept on. NIS America was kind enough to provide me with the game on Steam, which is the footage you saw in this video. It runs smooth as butter. I played at 1440p at 144 FPS, and it was a magical time. The game will take you probably around 30 hours, maybe a little bit more if you do the side content. I'm already super hyped for replays, which is great because having it on Steam, I can play it on my Steam Deck, which also runs the game like a dream. But I'm also pretty hyped to play more on the Switch version of the game because yeah, NIS America was kind enough to give me that version too. There is one thing I want to add here. They actually put an update while I was playing through for this video, and the PC version is getting an exclusive local co-op addition to this game. So yeah, you can straight up, especially if you're playing on Steam, you can use remote play together. So local co-op games can be played online. And I actually did this with a friend, and it's really, really neat. So much love to my friend Jaden XV for helping me out get footage for this. It's definitely kind of jank. I mean, but again, this was done by the people who did the port of this game in their free time, man. Like in their free time. This is not an official thing. He makes it flat out known that this is unofficial, experimental, all that stuff. But the fact that it's even able to be done to where you can actually synergize with a friend, do the timed blocks and perfect guards together with a friend, that is so cool. And I think some people will be willing to buy this game just for that. I just wanted to add that into this video. But yeah, NIS America sent me a care package for the limited edition version of the game, and it comes with all kinds of goodies that are equally epic and pretty cute. It came with the Switch version of the game, which I talked about already, a sling bag, which gives off huge RPG adventure vibes, by the way, the mini soundtrack, which is a staple, a metal pin that, come on, this looks freaking awesome. That's so freaking cool. It's so high quality. I almost don't even want to open it. I've just been having it on my desk here because it's so freaking cool. It also comes with a postcard set, which is really freaking cool. And I genuinely think this is a seller in itself because adventure games plus postcards is just a match made in heaven, man. I don't know why. I just love this sort of thing. But outside of that, my favorite part outside of the game, of course, is the art book. Man, I never get tired of these things. It feels so high quality, and the design reminds me of an adventure logbook of some kind, like what Adol would actually write down in his adventures. If you pick this up for yourself, I recommend not going too far into it though before beating the game, because it is an art book, so the game will have some spoiler stuff for the ending and all that kinds of stuff in the art book, so just be careful if you were to do that. But it acts as a beautiful cherry on top for when you beat the game. Thank you, NIS. You didn't have to, but man, I really appreciate you doing so. I can't recommend getting this enough for you guys. You guys need to buy this. It's so freaking cool. But that's gonna be it. Thank you all so much for watching. The game does come out on October 25th. So if you guys want to pick it up for Switch, PlayStation, or PC, that's the day you can do so. There's even a demo out right now that if you want to try the game out for yourself, and you can play about the first 3 chapters, I believe, all up there. So that's really, really cool. So definitely try that out if you haven't already. I'm gonna go pick up a PlayStation copy for myself because I need to complete the collection. But much love to NIS again for doing this for me. I really appreciate it. But thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit the like button for your boy. Leave a comment for the algorithm. You have no idea how much that really helps me out. And of course, if you'd like to be notified for more rambles like this one, then all you have to do is subscribe. It's free and you can always change your mind later. But thank you all so much for watching. My name is KingdomAce. Remember everyone to play some games, have some fun, and enjoy your day today.